Let's take a look at Agile integration in a microservices architecture. Specifically, we're going to look at how to utilize 3-scale and JBoss Fuse to extend the reach and functionality of your microservices applications. Microservices architecture is an approach of developing a single application as a suite of small services, each running in its own process and communicating with light mechanisms. Specifically, it's a REST API for the most part. These services are built around business capabilities and independently deployable by fully automated deployment machinery. The advantages of a microservices architecture include faster software delivery. You can build and deploy your software components much quicker. Resource scalability. You can scale individual components of your application as opposed to having to scale the entire application. And fault isolation. If one microservices fails, it doesn't bring down the entire system. So you have a microservices architecture. Now what? Microservices architecture has some challenges. Some of these include service discovery. Microservices are a bunch of small services out in your infrastructure. How do people find these and consume them? Documentation. Where do you provide documentation across all of your microservices? Access control. This is controlling who has access to what microservices and how often they can consume them. Reporting and analytics. So how do you know who is consuming and how often is around these analytics? Service orchestration is also a challenge. If you have a business transaction that comprises many microservices, how do you create a composite service and execute? Red Hat provides two tools in particular that really help extend your microservices application. These are 3-scale and JBoss Fuse. 3-scale is an API management platform that provides the infrastructure to easily manage your APIs for internal and external users. It allows teams to secure, publish, control, and monetize APIs. Some of the key features of 3-scale include API analytics, API versioning, access control, and documentation. This diagram represents the different players involved in your API platform using 3-scale. In blue, you'll see API providers. The API providers publish microservices that expose RESTful APIs. In orange, you see what 3-scale provides. It has an API delivery platform, which is essentially a proxy that people go through to consume APIs. And it has a management platform on the right-hand side in orange that allows you to manage your APIs, report on the API, and publish a portal for developers to come to find out information about your APIs. The green represents the consumers of your API. The main components of 3-scale include the APCast API gateway, which is a proxy that links consumers to APIs. Then an API manager that allows you to control access to your APIs and report on them, and the developer portal. JBoss Fuse is another product that provides a robust, flexible, and easy-to-use platform to integrate applications, data, services, and devices. The integration platform uses popular open-source technologies to provide transformation, routing, and protocol matching services. It is distributed and independent of a centralized enterprise service bus. So this makes Fuse quite different than your traditional ESBs. It's an agile framework for integration, and it fits nicely in a microservices architecture. It uses popular enterprise integration patterns that have been published and implements those using the Apache Camel framework. So these are the components that make up Fuse. On the developer side, you have JBoss Developer Studio. This is where you build your agile integration using Apache Camel. Then you build and deploy those in several mechanisms. The Fuse platform supports Spring Boot, or Apache Craft deployments. And for microservices, you can turn those into Docker containers and deploy those on OpenShift. So again, your integration routes are microservices, and you use Camel DSL to define your integrations. The Camel DSL can be written in many ways. You can use a Java DSL. You can use you can use Blueprint or Spring DSL. If you're using Spring DSL, you get a visual representation of your integration flows as shown on the right. If you're using Java, it's more programmatical context. So in a microservices architecture, Fuse can provide a composition that allows you to orchestrate many microservices in one transaction.